Now I call Katir Anand.
Honorable Speaker, sir, thanks for the opportunity given to me to speak on behalf of our DMK party. This is a great moment for me to address the Parliament on the 112th birth centenary celebrations of the founder of DMK party and also the man who named Tamil Nadu, C.N. Annadurai. So I pay my tributes to him, sir. So in 1955, the Essential Commodities Act was enacted to ensure the availability of essential commodities at fair price to the consumers. Over many essential commodities, over the years, many essential commodities were added and removed. However, if you see, the cure suggested through the Essential Commodities Act has been more dangerous than the disease itself. We all know that the Act at times has resulted in the spiking of wholesale and retail prices instead of smoothing the same. The Act has discouraged private players to invest in agriculture sector. Besides, it incentivized investments in shortage, in the storage and warehousing infrastructure, as the traders were aware of the unpredictable imposition of the stock limits. Sir, this ordinance has to be commended. Through agriculture, though agriculture is a state subject, entry 14 of the concurrent list empowers the central to legislate on the production and trade and supply of the foodstuffs, entry 33. By taking the ordinance route, a clear attempt was made to bypass the parliamentary process. When a proposed amendment is introduced in the parliament, it is open to debate, scrutiny, comments and valuable inputs from the stakeholders before being passed. A critical legislation like this should certainly have been put before the parliament previously. The Sarkaria Commission report on the center-state relations pointed out that the center used entry 33 disproportionately empower itself in the sphere of agriculture. The power of center in agriculture management has certainly increased through this ordinance. States like Tamil Nadu and West Bengal have repeatedly called for the transfer of entry 33 from the concurrent to the state list. Tamil Nadu, which was the first state in India to introduce free power for the agriculture by then ruled DMK party to boost agriculture and advocating for the fair price for agri-produce. We have to respect and safeguard the state's interests too. The ordinance does not define extraordinary circumstances which may include war, famine, extraordinary price rise and natural calamities of a grave nature. It is not clear. Even in the extraordinary circumstances, the government only, they say, may choose to exercise regulations. Such legislative ambiguity makes one question the entire exercise of introducing this particular provision. Drastic changes such as the removal of stock limits and exemption to the exporters, traders and the value chain participants may not help farmers directly. Big corporates and multinational corporations may prefer to stock up their quota at the time of harvest when the prices are low and thus would not need to buy from the farmers when the price rise. So end of the day, the farmers are going to be affected. If the farmers decide to retain produce for later, prices may not go up or the private sector may not enter the market to purchase. The subjective nature of the terms like horticulture produce or perishable agriculture foodstuff, etc. is also not clear. So you have to explain, give us a detailed list of what are the products you are going to cover before the parliament. Another issue is regarding the installed capacity. The bill does not specify the exceptions for exporters and value chain participants in the terms of its capacity, whether annual installed capacity or monthly installed capacity or daily. It is not at all very clear. The government should clearly mention what they mean. India no longer faces food shortage problems according to Economic Survey 2020. The food grain production has increased since 1950 and India is now an exporter. Thereby, rendering the act of anachronistic. The amendments were supposed to foster an ecosystem so that the farmers receive fair remuneration for the produce. However, these amendments have made the whole purpose ambiguous and subject to interpretations. For example, in case of exporters, will it be confirmed export orders in the hand or only the export orders for which the LCs have to be opened? Again, all the terminology is vague and it's not clear. The government is responsibly have to clarify all the terms which have been mentioned in the act. Besides, the major focus of the bill has been on the agriculture items. Why the ignored sectors like petrol, jute, essential drugs, why has this been the case? Speaker, sir, a considerable administrative effort was utilized for the enforcement of this act, according to the surveys. It was also pointed out that the conviction rate was abysmal 3.8%. This should, however, not be the reason for diluting the act. One cannot ignore the pulses scam that involved the manipulation of prices in 2015. Investigation by the Income Tax Department found several big MNCs played a role in the spiking of the pulses. India is still dependent on the monsoon for producing sufficient food grains. A majority of farm holding in India is small and marginal. Another locust attacks may occur in near future. The El Nino phenomenon has hit Indian agriculture hard in the past. Given the timing of this amendment, it is likely to benefit big traders, corporates and MNCs, but not to the farmers directly. Our policies thus must ensure sustainable farm growth, taking into consideration factors like climate change, land holdings, consumer capacity and farmers' interests. Like I said,
Mr.
India is a
Anand,
country where the farmers depend heavily on monsoon.
Please conclude now.
So, I'm concluding, sir. So the price volatility is subject to happen. This situation has stopped by the government's arbitrary import-export decisions. In the scenario, is the deregulation the only step? I ask the government. Structurally, farming needs to be made economically and ecologically viable in India for any real progress of farmers. The government should take steps so that the farmers could withstand weather shocks or crop damages against any sudden locust attacks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, 2 minutes, sir. Just, I'm concluding, please, sir. More focus on the establishment of cold storages. This is an important point that I want to stress to the government. When you want to talk about the goods and the price, the supply chain and the cold storage have to be given more importance. If you start making the cold storages plants everywhere in India, then you don't need this act at all. Everywhere people can store the products and they can sell it at a good price where the farmers will be benefited.
Thank you.
The focus of the government should be to bridge the urban-rural divide and help the farmers get their fair share. Sir, I urge the government to reconsider this bill and send the same to the select committee, and I
Now I
object this
call
bill
the
to be
next
passed in this
speaker.
parliament. Thank you, sir.